My boyfriend is moving in with his girl best friend and I don't trust her one bit. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It's sending me on Instagram. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost a year. When I met him, he already had a very big group of best friends. One of them was this girl. There's actually another girl in the group, but my boyfriend and this particular girl, let's call her Lacey. Lacey is completely obsessed with my boyfriend. I tell him all the time, but he doesn't want to listen to me. She goes out of her way to spend time with him, and she'll do girlfriend things for him. Sometimes she'll call him and say, I cooked us dinner, come over to my apartment. She even goes to his apartment and helps him do laundry. Let me go back though. When we started dating, he asked me not to be uncomfortable and that him and her were only good friends. But as soon as I saw them with each other, it was visible that she was in love with him. When he first brought me around to meet his friends, she was super territorial. She would sit next to him and even sat on his lap in front of me. And this made my boyfriend uncomfortable. He asked her to sit on a chair instead of his lap. After that, I asked him if he had feelings for her and he said no. He said he's only ever seen her as a sister, that the thought of hooking up with her makes him want to vomit. Lacey reached out to me and asked me to have lunch with her. Throughout the whole lunch, all she talked about was my boyfriend, and how amazing he is, and how only a good girl deserves him. Part 2 is up. My boyfriend is moving in with his girl best friend and I don't trust her. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I was sending me on Instagram. And her and I went to lunch. All she talked about was my boyfriend. That's when she started saying things like, he only deserves a really good girl. That's when I was straight up with her. I told her that he had already chosen me because he loved me. And that I didn't need her to tell me what my boyfriend needed. You guys should have seen the look on this girl's face. She was shocked that I would defend myself and even talk back to her. Then she said, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel bad. I told her that I didn't feel bad and that I knew what she was doing. She was basically trying to intimidate me and make me feel that I wasn't good enough for my boyfriend. She denied it and started apologizing. But at least I made it clear to her that I was not stupid and that she was not going to walk all over me like she probably did with all of his exes. By the way, one of his past girlfriends actually broke up with her because of this girl. I mean, Lacey. Found this out through one of the other friends. They told me that I needed to be careful with her. That's why I was prepared to go to lunch with her. Guess what happened though? I called my boyfriend to say hi to him and that's when he starts yelling at me. He said Lacey called him to tell him that I had attacked her at lunch. That I basically threatened her. I explained to him what happened from my point of view, and he said that she was probably just overreacting. But it was her word against mine. Part 3 is up. My boyfriend is moving in with his girl best friend and I do not trust her. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It's sending me on Instagram. After Lacey told my boyfriend that I had attacked her and threatened her, he told me to keep my distance. So I did. But that meant that he would hang out with her without me. I found this completely unacceptable. That's when I told my boyfriend that she was manipulative, that she had clearly planned everything out so that he and her could be alone. Then I told him that his ex-girlfriend left him because of her. He told me that I didn't know the full story and that I should mind my own business. That's when I noticed that he wouldn't come over to my apartment every day. And guess why? His best friend Lacey told him that she had a stalker and that she needed my boyfriend to stay over her house so that she could feel protected and safe. I just can't. I told him that she was clearly manipulating him and probably lying about the stalker situation so that he could spend more time with her. And just like that, 2 days later, he told me that they were moving in together and that she miraculously found an apartment big enough for the two of them. In 2 days? I don't think so. I think she had been planning this the whole time. And my boyfriend is just stupid enough to fall for it. I told him if he moved in with her that he should just forget about me. He begged me not to leave him, so I guess I'm still his girlfriend. He's still debating whether or not to move in with her. He says he doesn't want to lose me, but he wants to be able to be there for her. I think I should break up with him, but maybe there's another solution. What do you guys think I should do?
Am I wrong for refusing to attend an apology dinner after my mother-in-law called me a bad mother at my son's funeral? I lost my son to congenital heart disease and he did not survive the open heart surgery at the age of 1 year and 6 months. He was the greatest blessing I had in my life. Everyone kept telling me things will get easier with time. I know that no matter how much time goes by, I'll still be missing my baby and everything sweet about him. Mother-in-law and I were in constant conflict. Things had always been bad between us, but in those months we reached our limit. She kept getting involved in my son's treatment and criticized every decision I made, claiming I didn't know how to handle my son's illness. We went low contact, but she kept causing issues occasionally. My husband was torn between our son's illness and his mother's issues. When my son passed away, she came to the funeral and caused a scene by arguing with me, knowing I had no energy for it. She used the fact that everyone was there so she could say it was my fault my son was born sick and I didn't take care of him properly, and that I didn't listen to her when suggested other ways to treat his condition, and that I was the one who took their grandchild away from them and caused them heartache. She then loudly called me a bad mother. I had no idea how I kept my composure and kept standing on both feet. She then went to tell everyone I kicked her out as a way to hurt her feelings and lied that I convinced my husband to ban her from visiting her grandson's grave. My husband later sent his side of the family an email talking about my mother-in-law's behavior during and after our son's illness and telling them he will no longer be seeing her. That had the family criticizing us, saying mother-in-law was just trying to do what was best for her grandbaby and called us selfish for assuming we're the only ones struggling with this tragedy. We haven't seen his mom in 1 year and 8 months. I'm now 3 months pregnant. No one knew, only my sister-in-law, but word got out. A week later, I had family members saying I was invited to a dinner hosted by my mother-in-law so she could both apologize in front of the whole family and settle this issue before the baby's born. They said mother-in-law was regretful and offered to financially provide for her grandbaby, and they want to see that. I refused, but my husband surprisingly wants me to go. I had his grandparents calling me, telling me that I'm a person with a good heart and forgiveness is something that I'm capable of giving. I told them I'll never be sitting at the same table with the person who called me a bad mother at my child's funeral. I still remember it vividly till this very day. My sister said this change of heart from mother-in-law is probably for the new baby. It could be, but I insisted I won't come. They're saying I'm making it hard for everyone to move on and past this unresolved pain and should really go. So, should I?
Story time about when my entitled boss almost killed me and got himself arrested and fired. I'm allergic to hand sanitizer, alcohol wipes, and generally anything that has alcohol-based products. I even bring my own soap because I can have a reaction to some soaps. I can't even drink this stuff without my lips swelling. My old boss was my cousin, so when COVID hit, I didn't really have a problem until my cousin got promoted and got transferred to a new office. Enter our new boss. We got a mass email going over our new COVID safety procedures, and one of the new procedures is that we have to use hand sanitizer and antiseptic wipes. I sent an email to HR telling them about my allergies with my medical documents. They sent back saying that I don't have to use the hand sanitizer and the antiseptic wipes and that they put it in my file. However, when I sent that exact email to my new boss, he replied saying that all employees have to follow the new COVID safety procedures, no exceptions. When I replied that if I use those products, I'll need medical assistance, he sent me another email saying that if any employee doesn't follow the new COVID safety procedures correctly, then they would be fired. I sent copies of the emails to our union rep and HR department, to which they replied that they would talk to him and kind of just told me to ignore him unless he tries to actually fire me. So I go into work and my new boss is literally waiting for me at my desk with a bottle of hand sanitizer in his hands, asking me to hold up my hands. I replied, no thanks, I'd rather not go to the hospital today. He got mad and literally grabbed my hand and squirted hand sanitizer in it and then rubbed it in. While he was doing it, he said, now that wasn't so bad. I tried to go to the bathroom to wash it off, but he blocked me. Well, I had a bad reaction. Thank God I had my EpiPen at my desk. My boss kept saying that he thought I was lying and kept saying it until I was put into an ambulance and couldn't hear him anymore. A member of the HR department and legal department came to visit me in the hospital, probably making sure that I don't sue and informed me that he was fired. She also said that they called the police on my behalf. I have no clue how she got my address, but when my husband and I got home, my ex-boss's mother was sitting on my lounge. My mother-in-law had let her in. She lied and said that she was a solicitor. She introduced herself and said, I'd like to discuss this big misunderstanding that you and my son had. I replied, yeah, well, I don't. You know where the door is. She replied, I'm not leaving until we all come to an agreement. I replied, my husband asked you to leave, now get the out or I call the cops. Once again, she replied, I'm not leaving until we've discussed this misunderstanding. I'm sure we can all come to an agreement. My mother-in-law chimed in, if you don't leave, I'll throw you out. Finally, my husband started calling 911 and she replied, fine, I'll go, but I'll be back. The way she kept saying the word agreement, I'm sure she was trying to bribe us, which is stupid. I don't think I could do anything even if I wanted to. Luckily, we got that attempted bribe on camera. However, she never actually said the exact words, so she wasn't charged for it, but my father-in-law, who's kind of wealthy and knows everyone, got in touch with her bosses and she was fired, and now she has to answer to some board or something where she might not be able to practice law anymore. My ex-boss took a deal and he's going to be in jail for 6 months. He'd probably be out in 3, but it's better than nothing, right? I have a restraining order out on him and his mother.